created here in my website an area that is called Stories. And I'm going to go there, and I hope you can see me when I do this. Sometimes I translate some of the cases that I receive in Portuguese, but usually here the cases that have been reported in English. So if you would like to report one, you can see here at this corner where it says submit your account. Please send me your experiences, and I will love to read them, to publish them, and hopefully one day to comment deeply here. The case that I have picked for us today is this one that we call here Peace in the Astral Projection. For us to be able to follow well, what I am going to do is that I will continue sharing with you my video while I read this account with the paper I have here in my hand. But if you want, you can follow there directly on the website, okay? And what I like doing, and then you tell me if that works for you, is to discuss step by step as we see some significant event to discuss about. So just to start, this is a person who submitted this account saying, this is one of my first experiences of astral projection. And it was extremely positive. And that's why I wanted to share here, because several of the experiences and reactions, mostly, that he had, I've heard so many times, including not wanting to come back to the body. So let's see how it goes. He tells us, his name is Alexei. So Alexei tells us, after sleeping, I woke up out of the body in a place that is almost impossible to describe, such the beauty of it. There was no buildings or houses, just exuberant nature. One of the things here that I take from this paragraph is that he already woke up outside the body, meaning became aware outside the body. So he did not sense the body disconnecting from the physical body. And I want to emphasize this here, because most people, they tend to put so much value on being able to disconnect lucidly from the physical body, which is very important, of course, because then we have like a triple confirmation. Very important, and a step that we have to learn how to master it. This is part of what we are here to learn. However, that does not mean that if we have not been aware of the moment that we were detaching from the physical body, whatever we experience afterwards is not a valid experience. So in this case, Alexei did not sense himself detaching from the body. And just notice when he was there. There are a few things here that he says. He was lucid, but impossible to describe, such a beauty. There are things that we see outside the body that we have no words to describe. We are talking about an experience that is super vivid. You have the memory of it step by step. You were conscious in every step throughout the experience. However, our physical dictionary that is appropriate to describe our physical life, does not have the words to say what we have in our minds and we want to say. So this is very characteristic of some types of out-of-body experiences. So then he tells us, I could feel an inner peace like never before. The feeling I had was that the peace came from the air itself, from the environment. And I love this paragraph that Alexei wrote. Perhaps this paragraph alone made me pick this account. Why? Because when we are really conscious outside the body, it's almost as if we can read information in every corner. Really, it's like whatever you sense is in the air. Sometimes you even pick some level of waves of energy movement. It's not the same energy we are familiar with here, but let's call it energy. But then you sense those waves almost as if you could hear them. And it's very common to have this sort of telepathic perception in the out-of-body experience. It's almost like a reading. You know, psychokinesis, when there are people that they can get an object, and with that object in hand, they verify the energies and they can make a interpretation of the information of the energies there. Same thing in this case here, but the interpretation is of the whole non-physical environment. I have had experiences in which I went to places that I didn't even know there could exist places like that on Earth, because very different geography, very different sort of architecture, everything very different, weather-wise, in every sense. However, I thought, where is this? And in my mind, bam, I got it. And many years later, like 20 years later, I met somebody from that place. And then I started asking, please, can you describe to me how your place is? And are there structures like this and that? And that is to us. So this is called extra-physical, like non-physical astral, extra-physical telepathy. And that works a lot in the out-of-body experience. So Alexei says, I was greeted by a woman, of course, a spirit that looked like a woman, who looked to be in a mid-40s and with a wide smile on her face, as if she knew in advance the experience I was going to have in moments from there. It was all new to me, and I was flying a few feet above the ground. There was several mountains-like structures here, some of them with what appeared to be a green vegetation, but others with vegetation that I never saw before, of color that would remind a golden blue. On top of another elevation, I observed many verdant trees. I do not know if you are familiar with these or ever heard about these, but there are cases in which we can see hues of colors outside the body that we do not have the same here, or at least our eyes cannot pick, or it's not part of our culture to identify them. So you want to describe a color or something you saw outside the body, but you cannot. So he refers a little bit to that here. Then he tells us, I was very lucid and noticed that the sky was cloudless sky, or whatever he would see there that for him was the sky. And curiously, tells him, I had the feeling that there was no atmosphere or air in the place, due to the impression that I didn't need to breathe. Let's remember here that we are talking about someone who has had several out-of-body experiences. But this one that I am reading to you was one of his firsts. So perhaps first, second, third, according to what he describes. So he was surprised to see that there was no sense of weight from the air, because air has some weight. We don't sense here because it's a constant weight. It's a constant pressure on us because of the level of gravity we have in this planet. But when we are outside the body, not only we do not have that pressure of gravity, but we do not have air, of course. And then we don't need to breathe. Everything is lighter. Everything becomes like gives us more time, space, mental space to see ourselves as we are. And then Alexei tells us, I floated to the top of the mountain, look at the environment and enjoying that indescribable inner peace. And for him, that was the most important thing, inner peace. Everything was very calm. It was so nice being there that I said to myself, this place feels like paradise. I want to stay here forever. Don't want to go back to my body. But you guys know, eventually we come back. We just may remain some seconds or minutes more outside the body, which can be a lot of experiences there. But that is it. But this is not the first time I hear somebody saying, oh, it was so good. Why would I want to go back to my body? But at this moment, when he thought of this, that, why bother going back to the body? He had another interesting episode when he had a magnified vision. So Alexei tells us, then a person I could not see, who was by my side, rubbed my head as a father does to his son. Now, a person who was there, he knew it, but he could not see. And I want to comment on this because there are many, many instances in the out-of-body experience in which the real, more advanced, non-physical or spiritual presence is like a spirit guide or a non-physical mentor, spiritual mentor is present, but we cannot see. But there's no doubt that there is one there, and we are communicating kind of telepathically with our thoughts, basically. So he felt that presence, or became more aware of that presence, and felt that almost like a touch or rubbing in his head. Look at what happened then. He tells us, despite not being able to see it, I felt the friction of the hand in my hair, just as I would feel in the physical body. And of course, that was not a physical touch. But I would like to remind you guys, and we can dedicate a time here to explore why it is like that and what are the consequences of this in our everyday life. But I want you to keep in mind that energy, our energy field, our chakras, our energy body is interacting with the environment the whole time. We sense the physical body, but we also sense energy. And for us, sometimes these things are interrelated. There are individuals who, for example, are so sensitive to energies that sometimes they are in contact with a not so positive energies, at least for them, not so positive, and they can even fall ill, feel nausea, feel real physical reactions because of the energy. But what I'm saying here is that for him, that non-physical touch was so clear, so vivid, that he could recognize as clearly as if it were physical. So I thought there was something for us to understand as well, because this phenomenon causes fear in a lot of people who may have some experiences, but because some of the perceptions that they have that are energetic perceptions are so clear that they feel as if that could be threatening or a threat to their bodies, to their survival, whilst it is energy. Of course, energy affects us a lot, but we have to be able to distinguish. Here in the physical body, it's much harder because sometimes they come together. Now, Alexei tells us, at this moment, I got a kind of expansion in my sense of vision. Interestingly, I could see everything around me at the same time. I could see all directions or angles at the same time. I could see the sky, the ground, the sides of my body, etc. This happened after the touch of the invisible person. Then I woke up in the physical body. I saw the sunlight coming into my room through a crack in the window, and everything was like indescribable beauty. The sun, the crack, how it entered, that's what he means here. To my surprise, he tells us, somehow I brought all the energy and feeling of inner peace that I felt in that non-physical or astral plane realm, to the point that I could maintain the inner joy and peace for the rest of the day. Here there is another big lesson about the out-of-body experience. Let me come back here with you a bit. First, one thing that I want to mention is that when he could see everything, that produced to him some sort of surprise. It was good, it was beautiful, it was wonderful, but that surprised him. And he wakes up immediately afterwards, most probably because of the surprise. The idea would be that in a case such as this, we are able to keep cool, just observing and analyzing. But of course, all of that feeling of beauty and peace and this is wonderful paradise, even though Alexei was very balanced throughout the experience. But he ended up coming back. Another thing that I want to comment about what he just told us here is that when we have a real out-of-body experience with real heightened awareness, look, I'm not talking about being a nice or not nice experience. I'm talking about the level of awareness, lucidity. If we are with a heightened lucidity and we experience this sort of environment with the inner peace, and especially what he describes, the expanded awareness and the amplified or magnified vision, this means that this energy comes with us. So it's like waking up, or during the day, you have that unshakable balance inside of you. But that's not forever. And that is one thing that is important. And he's very clear here. I could maintain the inner joy and peace for the rest of the day. It's the same thing with some energy exercises we do. Allow me a parenthesis. When we do, for example, the velo technique that I teach a lot here, because it's a technique that is very complete. It's not the only one that exists in the world, of course, but I think that is very safe for everybody to practice and very complete in its results. But let's say somebody can manage very well and do a certain section of velo that the person is super peaceful, maybe even reach a vibrational state. Now, when we reach a high level, I said high level vibrational state, or a high quality velo technique, then we change our energies to such a level in which even when there are some maybe counterflows, some antagonistic events or energy, it's almost as if everything reaches us in slow motion. It gives us time to react, to be in peace. And that is what is super valid. Somehow, at a young age, Alexei experienced the same. Not because he himself did the velo, or not because he experienced the vibrational state, but because he experienced a similar elevated type of energy, quality of energy during this projection. And then when he comes back, he kind of brings that quality of energy, that information with him. Would be lovely if one experience could change us forever, right? But no such an easy evolution, I guess. Not at least from what I have been studying for so long about these topics. All of us, we need to learn to master our manifestation, our thoughts, our energy in many different situations. In some, it's easier. In some, it's very hard. Only you know what is easy or hard for you. But whatever is the case, we can improve. And that is the message that we want to leave here.